We start in North Africa, where Tunisia is struggling to cope with the influx of migrant corpses drowned at sea. Authorities in Sfax, the country's second largest city and the departure point for the crossing, say that the number of deaths exceeds their capacity. Here's a report on why the migrant issue is worsening there.
This is Sfax in Tunisia. Morgue and hospital staff are putting migrants' bodies in a truck for burial. They are destined for the cemetery just a few kilometers from the hospital. Most of the victims drowned while trying to cross to Europe.
On Thursday, 20th April alone, at least 30 people were buried. But during the Eid holiday, many bodies were found and transferred to the Forensic Medicine Department for autopsy and sample collection for DNA analysis. The number exceeds our capacity. Last Tuesday, we received almost 200 bodies, while the hospital's capacity is only 40 or 50 bodies.
The graveyard is almost full now, but municipalities are creating room as the toll climbs every fortnight. In Sfax, 250 kilometers south of capital Tunis, the Coast Guard intercepted 372 migrants attempting to leave the shores of the North African country. They were trying to escape in small and unseaworthy boats. The Coast Guard used speedboats to intercept the migrant vessels, many of which were overloaded and at risk of being swamped by even a small wave. Every night when the seas are calm, the situation is the same, with scores of overloaded migrant boats setting off on a perilous journey.
God will help us meet someone who is going to say, "Mr. or Madam, come and work. We're going to work. We're going to have something to eat." At least they won't insult us. They're not going to hit us with rocks or spit at us or things like that. No.
Africans living in Tunisia have come under pressure recently, kicked out of their accommodation and their jobs after a wave of racist sentiment against them. In February, President Kais Saied ordered a crackdown on sub-Saharan African migrants and lashed out at a perceived plot to erase Tunisia's identity. Some are fleeing war in their countries, others are just hoping to get jobs or join family in Europe. Many recount the horror of suffering racist abuse in Tunisia.
It's a disaster for Tunisia, which has always been a land of welcoming people. Why today? What are the motives? Which we do not understand as Tunisian citizens, for such speech to be made by our president. And the next day, there was another speech that was contradictory. And now, there is another speech. The authorities are entangled in this matter and do not know how to correct this huge blunder.
The problem is seeping through to Libya as well. 11 bodies, including that of a child, were recovered by the Libyan Coast Guard after a migrant boat capsized off the coast of Garabuli near the capital Tripoli. The migrants were from Pakistan, Syria, Tunisia, and Egypt.
We set off at 1 a.m. The boat was overloaded. There was a Tunisian person and a Libyan person who were driving the boat. When I told them to lighten the load a little, he shouted at me in objection and the people told him to stop.
This is a compounding problem. After the migrants are stopped, they are brought aboard the Coast Guard ships, their boats to be collected later by the authorities. The Coast Guard in Tunisia says it has stopped 13,000 people attempting to depart by sea illegally in the first quarter of 2023. They are calling for close cooperation with neighbors in Italy and Malta and say that their work is hindered by several of their ships being out of service for repairs. Most migrants are released as soon as they are brought back to shore, with many hoping to attempt the trip again as soon as possible. Bureau Report, WION World is One.